Hey, this is Notser, and we're checking out a German destroyer. I had a Z46 game on 0.6.3, but I'm an idiot. So, just to intrigue you while we're going off to D point, I recently, well not recently, but I had re-updated the Adobe Premiere, and it's all controlled by updates, so it's a different version, so it doesn't know what to do. And it was saving to my solid state drive, which Windows is on, and I was like, why is Windows always out of data? Well, whenever I import the video into the editing software, it has to load it into a special editable format so I can scrub through and see all that. It was storing up every edit I had done, and I lost it, and I was like, what's going on? Delete it, and then it was gone. So this is a German destroyer, and I wanted to make sure that the destroyers were all represented by the changes. I will also try and get to the ZOW or something else like that. But in general, you all know that stealth fire is gone. Now, the Germans never had a problem with that. In fact, the German destroyers are probably better off now because the gun only goes out to the max range of your ship. But the German identity, where you are sitting in smoke and sometimes people are dropping torpedoes on you, you've got to maneuver and use your hydroacoustic to your advantage. And this is a pretty good example. It also shows some fail on my part, and I thought it was worthy of showing. So, I overcorrected. I'm outside the smoke in the worst possible position, and I'm trying to get back into it so I can fire my guns. But I hope everyone knows the identity of what is about to occur in 0.6.3 outside of Soviet. You will be using your smoke actively to fire your gun. You will be at risk so much to firing your gun when you're outside of your smoke that you honestly will probably hold your fire and not fire your gun. So this is sort of a twofold thing. It's going to require the use of smoke more often just for you in order to do damage, and I felt completely justified firing on the Mutski. Friendly Omaha is aggressively pushing forward, and he's crazy, but we're going to use this crazy to get some damage down on the target. But yes, you're using your smoke aggressively, probably more so. Superintendent, premium consumable, probably going to be a must-take in the Germans, the Japanese, and the Americans. But it also is going to require that you hold your fire more often when outside of your smoke. So there's sort of a window of damage, window of no damage, and then a window of more damage. And it's kind of awkward, honestly. I sent with the Farragut in mind. I hope that the Farragut wouldn't run into it, but I think I did hit the Farragut, unfortunately. Or I will hit the Farragut ever so slightly, and yeah, I did. And I didn't even realize it at the time. Whatever, bad play. But yes, as a German, as a Japanese, as an American, you pretty much have the same play throughout. You go for the objective, you use your concealment rather well. Now, I think some Germans could honestly, and maybe even some Japanese have to deal with the expert marksman trait, how it's really terrible, the turret traverse, but the Germans and the Americans will rely on their smoke. They'll fire from their guns, and they can get advanced firing training. Advanced firing training for the Americans isn't really going to be that good. For the Germans, it'll be better, but not that much better. And you will fire your guns in your smoke, or when you're isolated against one target with an island in between, you'll send your torpedoes when you're outside of your smoke, and you'll hold your fire. And maybe you wouldn't do that previously. And this is not stealth fire. This is more to do with the disengage range of your guns in the old version. The old version, not for the Germans, of course. Let's not be ridiculous. The old version of the Germans was worse than this. But the new version is exactly the same as the old version of the Germans. You hold your fire, you rely on your concealment, you rely on smoke, and you got to be really careful. I was willing to risk the ship in order to take the Mutski out. Now, the Mutski should be trying to hide himself, and that's, of course, what he's going to do, but we're going to come around the island. I know there's torpedoes, but I have to kill him, and we're going to get a chance. Quickly engage the target. He popped his smoke. Is it enough? It is enough. And now avoid the torpedoes. And some people are going to be like, well, Notser, last thing I should have done is zoomed in, but I want to confirm the torpedoes are hitting, and we're going to take torpedoes here. We are going to take torpedoes, and it's a huge mistake, obviously. People are like, what did you do? I wanted to stay in range of the Omaha rather than give up the ground and have to make it back up. I felt like I wasn't going to die. Obviously, that's not the case, Notser. Just play it out correctly. There's 14 minutes in the game. Just play it slow, play it conservative, play it aggressive at times, but don't risk the ship for stupid reasons. The main reason I took that damage is I was zoomed in to see the torpedoes do damage. I didn't need to do that. But as an entertainer even, not as an entertainer, as an entertainer, you do want to sort of zoom in on these things so people can appreciate it, but don't be stupid like me. Don't take the torpedo. So, smoke is going to be used primarily for the ability to fire your gun, especially at the start. You'll go into the capture point, you'll pop your smoke. The Germans will have an advantage because they shouldn't take torpedoes, theoretically, and I think this was payback. It's okay, though. It was justified. I'm not gonna get on him. I'm sorry. But as you go aggressively towards the point, you used to force the target to pop his smoke. Whoever popped his smoke was the first one to fail. But now you really can't do that. And the reason I don't believe you can is because of the extended range of detectability. Even the Japanese, their range of the guns was extended. So you're going to have to consider people around the capture point more so than you did previously. And I talked to a community contributor about this, and they didn't really see the same way, but I feel like this is what is going to happen. You can't afford to bait the target to use your smoke on the objective. You just can't. You have to be more coy with it. You've got to use your smoke, him use his smoke, or her use her smoke, take out the target, rely on concealment. Maybe they make a mistake, and that's how you're going to work down the destroyers at the beginning of the match for the objective. And that's fine. It's just going to take longer. It's going to draw out that objective control process, and it might cause cruisers with radar to get in range to influence that further. You might also have to bail out of the smoke. But you're not going to really get into a position where one person can force the smoke out, unless you make a huge, egregious, why would you fire your guns if they never fire their guns sort of thing. Maybe I want to bait them out to fire the gun because I know I'm going to use my smoke. There's a lot of mind games with the destroyer, of course, I'll admit that. But you want to be the last one to use your smoke. And that was what you wanted to do previously. Now I think you want to be the first one to use your smoke because it's going to be more punishing to fire your gun when you're seen. So I believe strongly in smoke usage going up, for me at least. I'm one of those people that I tried to get every ounce of smoke charges. I would waste health just to have the smoke on longer, and that's not the right way to do it, but that's how I played it. I know, I'm an idiot, but that's how I did it. It worked pretty well. In 0.6.3, it's just going to be more cautious. Use your smoke more proactively. If you're ever given a chance to fire your guns, try to rely on hydroacoustic, other people spotting. This is where the Americans and the Japanese will give up to the Germans because they're not going to be as safe in their smoke. They just won't. So, as the German, you pop your smoke. If you expect torpedoes, use hydroacoustic. I did not expect the Fiji to be right there. And boy, am I going to be punished for this. I'm like, pop your smoke, back it up. Oh, he didn't detect me. I didn't fire my gun. He missed with his first shot. Great. I'm just going to back up slowly. I'm not going to fire my gun. I'm not going to do anything crazy, nothing hasty. He's still missing. Until right there, he actually clipped me. So guess what this guy does? He actually hits me blind after 20 or 30 seconds. And this just enraged me, but it was well played by the Fiji. I should have waited until smoke was ready. And that's probably what's going to happen. You will see destroyers wait longer to do something just to make sure their smoke's ready or something like that, and they have to do it. They can't disengage as quick. Not as previously. So this has been a German view of it. The New Mexico's going to try and engage him. He's in the smoke. Hopefully the torpedoes hit him. You know, whatever. But I'm just curious, what has your... I know people want to get rid of stealth fire, and stealth fire is a critical part of this, but you are also getting rid of the potential disengage ranges of the destroyers that everyone was comfortable with, you know, 10 to 12 kilometers, right? Roughly. You could play with that. You can't play with that now. You just can't do that. You can't do that at all. You've got to be disciplined, holding your fire, using your smoke, being behind islands, knowing where the enemy is, using your torpedoes when you can. But outside that, you don't fire a gun unless you want to die. And that's how the Germans were played in 0.6.2, and that's how everyone else other than the Soviets is going to be played in 0.6.3. I hope this was interesting. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.